Who gon' take it there? 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 Electricity, 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 electricity. You know what's in the air. 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 It's possibility. It's possibility. It's possibility. It's possibility.
All right, so Trump has announced as of Monday that he is sending the National Guard into DC. This is similar but a little bit different from what he was doing in LA, which was related to ICE, but this is supposedly related to crime. And he is going to, I guess, have the National Guard sweeping the streets of DC and patrolling. He also invoked the ability to take over the DC police with federal powers, putting Pam Bondi in charge of the DC police. And he does have the ability to do that for a short time, for 48 hours. And if he complies with sending some sort of procedural message to congressional committees, then he can control them for up to 30 days. That's what the statute that he cited in invoking his power to do that allows him to do. I assume he's not going to stop after 48 hours. So whether he's going to send this letter that he's supposed to send or not, who knows? Trump is basically taking on the leadership style of just doing things. And he recognizes that he can move faster than the courts. So if he does things that even the courts have told him not to do, or it's not certain whether he's allowed to do it, he can outpace the courts and then he can demonize them at the same time. So ideally, by the time any decision comes up that would hinder him, he will have more and more ability to disobey it over time, as well as having what seems like an enormous amount of control over the Supreme Court. So there's a lot of talk about this. Obviously, Trump is clearly just deploying the National Guard to blue cities and blue districts and blue states. That's obviously his plan. He said he was going to do this in the same press conference. He said he's thinking about doing it in Chicago and New York. So they want to take over cities, and he wants to impose federal powers over Democratic cities. Whether or not he has the ability to do that, who knows? Whether or not he would stop if he doesn't, also who knows? But this is the reality that we're looking at, is that he wants to send these troops. This is also actively in court in California over the troops that he sent there. Is this potentially an overreach by Trump? Yeah, totally. What that could lead to, I don't know. It's not clear to what extent Trump is willing to put military force behind these takeovers of these cities. But, I think he wants to do that, and we'll see. So some of the language that he used regarding homeless people is that they need to clear out the area, they need to leave. I haven't seen any information on to what extent that's happened, but he also said something like, we're going to give you places to stay, but he just wants them to leave. So to me, that's very telling, because he wants to do this show of power to target, again, not in service of these ICE raids and grabbing people that are supposedly illegal immigrants and removing them, but this is in service of, quote unquote, cleaning up the streets. So Trump wants to make a big show of that. He feels DC is the right place to do that because he feels that he should have the right to control DC. But when he says, you have to leave, we'll give you places to stay, almost as an afterthought, to me, that shows how weak this whole plan is, and the fact that it's entirely unsustainable, which is obvious. Everything that Trump does is unsustainable, and it's always about the show of force. But to me, I think that's a little bit informative about where this is going, because if they're trying to chase everybody out and then nobody has any place to go afterwards, that is going to create more problems than they started with. And there's going to be some form of pushback. A lot of the neighborhoods that these homeless people are going to be pushed into are the suburban neighborhoods that the rich people in DC live in. So in other words, you can't do something like this without creating a huge amount of problems. And they are absolutely not equipped to give these people housing, temporary housing, anything like that, except, some type of shoddily built Alcatraz, alligator Auschwitz type concentration camp. So that's what they're moving towards. And they're going to try to create that narrative that, this homeless problem, we cleared them out of DC. Look what we're doing. Now we have to round them up. They're going to try to roll this out across the country. And clearly they've shown that they are just trying to push things as far as they can and see how far they can get. And it will get as authoritarian as people allow it to get. But I truly think that this effort to push homeless people out while pretending to accommodate for them somehow is going to backfire and seems to be the weakest part of this whole plan. They want to get rid of everybody, but they don't actually have a plan for what to do with people. And, there's a reason that homeless people and others were gathered in that city in the first place. There's a reason that happens. And you can't just, go goose stepping around the city and solve the problem. So what that means is that they're going to have to do something to solve the problem, which is going to look really bad really fast. So another thing that is happening simultaneously is Gavin Newsom has come out against Trump's redistricting effort. So Trump is trying to get the Republicans in Texas to redistrict to get them 5 more seats. He has said we are entitled to 5 more Republican seats in Texas. Obviously, they're going to rig that so that they're in heavily white, heavily Republican districts. And they want to do that across the country, but also clearly they are worried about their majorities. The midterms are coming up, and, Republicans not only are starting to lose the popularity that they were swept into office on, to the extent that you could call it popularity, but they also have no way of repairing that issue, right? Nothing about their policy is going to reverse the direction of the country that they have taken it in. They will never reverse course. So there's no chance that they're going to do something more popular. Honestly, the only person who understands how to do that is Trump. So the chance that he'll throw some money out there for people or something like that is non-zero if things keep looking bad for them. But it looks like more so what they want to do is just rig the game, add as many districts as they can. And so Gavin Newsom has come out and said that he is going to redistrict California to offset whatever is done in Texas. And so there's legal questions to both of these things. And Gavin Newsom doesn't necessarily have the right to unilaterally do it, but he can do it technically, and he has a plan for it. And he's saying that I don't want to do this. Neither of us should be doing this. So either you stand down with your effort to redistrict Texas, or I'm going to do as much redistricting as I can in California. And that there's enough people in California that I can do that and it will succeed. And so something that J.D. Vance has said is that the reason California has as many districts as it does is because of illegal immigrants and they are voting. And so that's why Democrats have so much power. That's not true. The idea that they're voting makes no sense at all. And obviously, if people are living in a certain place, they should be represented by Congress, even if they're not voting. They should be counted by the census. The government needs to know how many people it's serving and where. But this is going to be the grounds of this fight over redistricting. Gavin Newsom is saying, I have the ability to redistrict California to up the ante on anything that you do in Texas. And they're going to fight back by saying that the population that has allowed California to be as powerful as it is in the first place is all illegals. And so they're going to attack California legally on that basis, probably. But this approach from Gavin Newsom is interesting because he is thinking in Trump terms. And he even mocked Trump by, typing in his cadence and doing the thing that Trump has been doing lately. Thank you for your attention to this matter, type in all caps and stuff like that. So he's trying to get his attention. And he understands that the only language Trump speaks is leverage. And so California and Gavin Newsom is using his leverage against Trump in this instance. And he's even doing it from afar. This is not something that is he's fighting over California, which they are also doing. They're going to court. But he's making a big show of this. Now, is that because he wants to run for president? I don't know, probably. It seems like Gavin Newsom wants to run for president. But also, this is, if we're talking about, prominent and well-known Democrats actually doing something against Trump, this is an example of that. Gavin Newsom is actually taking swings against Trump, and this is exactly how you go about opposing him, because all of us have leverage. Everybody has leverage. And obviously, the governor of California has leverage. He has a lot of leverage. He probably has more leverage than any other Democrat. So honestly, I don't care if he's running for president. Gavin Newsom sucks. Plenty of people hate him. Obviously, Republicans hate him. Plenty of people on the left hate him. Plenty of people that are left-leaning or Democrats or on the left in California hate Gavin Newsom. He sucks for a lot of reasons. But he is currently, with this and with other things that he's doing, putting himself in the way of authoritarianism. If it's performative, we'll see. But when he says, I'm going to redistrict California to offset anything that you do in Texas, to me, what that says is, I'm willing to break the rules to use my leverage against you. And that's the only thing that I could see working against Trump. And he tells him, stand down. I'm telling you to stand down. So I don't know if that's going to work. But stuff like that is what's going to start to chip away at Trump's, seemingly unlimited power. And it very well might cause him to stand down and tell the governor of Texas to stand down. Currently, a bunch of Democrats left Texas so that they could break quorum so that basically this cannot be voted on. And now Texas, they're trying to get them back. So they're punishing these Democrats. They're being fined. Republicans are talking about removing them from office. And now Trump is saying that the FBI might have to help get them back in Texas. And so that is where Gavin Newsom has stepped in and said that he is going to redistrict in California. Not exactly sure what the answer is from Trump on that. How do you respond to that? I don't know. He might come up with something. He might come up with some way to punish California or Gavin Newsom. But this gets back to what I've said about Trump is in the worst possible position when he's fighting the most possible battles on every front. And so the ideal situation for him is to roll into Democratic cities one by one and win, knock them down over and over again, get what he wants, and sort of secure federal control of any city that he wants one by one so that he maintains control all the time. But if he has to fight California at the same time that people are protesting in DC, which they are already, and people are not allowing federal agents to be quartered in Chicago, and people are fighting him in New York, and Mamdani is becoming, the most prominent figure in America for going after Trump. That is what's going to put Trump in a position where his leverage slips in these various places. But if he's able to focus all of his attention at once and all of his, federal authority at once in singular places, like punishing Gavin Newsom or doing whatever he needs to do to continue securing control of DC, then he's going to have an easier time doing it because he does have the ability on the federal level to push very hard on these individual things. But if he's getting pushback from the courts, he's getting pushback from powerful Democrats, he's getting pushback from the states, he's getting pushback from people, especially these highly populated areas that he wants to secure control of. If he is getting a lot of pushback in all these places at once, that's when he's going to have a hard time controlling it. And, seeing the president have to use all available National Guard resources just to keep control of America is not the kind of thing that's going to cause people to continue putting faith in the Republican Party. And at very least, it's going to leave wide open windows for us to jump into with better candidates, better ideas, and hopefully get things back on track because it's looking like they're going to run off the rails no matter what.